Okay, so the library holds all sorts of defaults,
Yep.
service defaults like the anchoring stuff, the messages, sermon notes, songs, and they're the main ones that you would access.
Yep.
And these are the playlists here, which is basically just services. So you can see here the Sunday just gone. We've got all our pre-service stuff rolls through. That stays every week.
Okay.
This, if it's got an XM, it stays. It's like a just part of the standard setup.
Yep.
What does change, obviously, is the song, whether we've got communion, specific slides in the anchor spot.
Yep.
And then the sermon notes, and all those other things stay. So all I'm going to do first is just rename this, just a right click or a double click to rename, and this will be the 13th of April. All of that stays, but we'll get rid of the songs.
Yep.
We won't have communion this week, so we don't need that. Don't need that header. If we were having communion, I would just add a new header.
Great.
And just drag it, call it communion. That slide we use for communion is up in service defaults here. Where is it?
Right there.
Communion. Yep. So you just drag and drop that up and then just place it where it's meant to be.
Yep.
I'll get rid of that. Can I delete? Yes. Get rid of that message. So I've gone back to, and that was just a random thing. Gone back to the basics.
Sure.
So let's say we want to put some songs in. Just click on the songs library. Here I am to worship, and then just drag it in. It'll then reopen the playlist. So I find this annoying. Then you have to go back to songs and do whatever.
Let's find the next one.
Find the next one. Let's say it's Build My Life.
Yep.
We could have done Bailey's ones. Anyway, we'll go back here. They just dump them there. So we just drag them up to where we want them to be underneath that call to worship. Now they will come in with two things. One is that background, which can be changed. I'll run through that real quickly just in case you wanted to do that. Right click, remove actions, and that's it there. And if we want to put another one on, we just have to go over here to split center and drag and drop.
Easy.
Now we've got a pretty new background. The other part of that is that, see how it says BBC default? That means it's in the version we want, the form, so verse, chorus sort of thing. You click on this little icon to open up that. What? That's not default. Look at that. That's BBC default, and someone's got in and changed it.
Yeah.
So it's an absolute shambles. So this gives me an opportunity to edit. Maybe that's what it was all about. Someone's just set it up for me to do that. Drag in verse 2. Usually you wouldn't have to do this.
Sure. So it's probably good to check just to make sure.
Yeah. Yep. What should happen is, actually there's probably a double chorus there, is if a new version is needed, we would just do new arrangement.
Sure.
But you wouldn't need to do that unless the creative people come in and do something new, which are generally, their name ends with Lovell, because Julie is very creative and Chloe is very creative.
As we experienced on
this Sunday. Right. So you would just do new arrangement and call it Chloe, and then it would come up and you would then just drag and drop that and just make sure that's selected. We'll keep it as default for now and we'll close that. And that comes up for the operator on Sunday to just roll through as it is. That's the songs. For Anchor, we'll have different slides from week to week. They're not always different, but some follow through. So to change these, we click on the first one and we click in Edit.
Yep.
Now we always keep that first one there because that has triggers in it.
Okay.
So we always keep the first two the same. The other ones are really pretty easy. It's just like a normal whatever document. That is a video, but it's come in as media. So if I click on it to select it, I should be able to just, it doesn't want to delete. What's it doing? I'm going to delete that whole slide because that's a bit weird. So just over there, I can just get rid of the whole thing. And I can do that. I can just delete all the slides and start again. But generally, keep a slide there rather than having to duplicate
one
anyway. And then you would just select and delete it. I'll just do that. If you're putting a new graphic in, you would just click on there, and then this is where that will just search wherever, obviously. So on the desktop, and if you had graphics from Jenny or something, you just go to wherever they're saved and double click and it puts it in. What we do also, and this isn't as much of a necessity, but see how that actual that slide is labelled. So if we click up in this grey area and go over to slide, we can name it here. It helps the operator on a Sunday, but generally it's not going to be horrible if that doesn't happen. We always keep the offering one there. Pastors insist on that.
Yes.
And then we would have a song, we would have the message, I'll come back to that, then we'd have worship, a song in there, and then we just keep all these old ones. So if I was to do a new sermon, I would go up to messages, I would click on that, new presentation, then file name. You can see the naming protocol we've got there. I'll start with 13th of April. It's going to be AMs because it's AJ at both AM services. And then we've got that AJ in there. Generally, you won't need to change these. The only one might be is if you needed to select the messages library, but it should be all good. Okay, this is where it does get a bit tricky, and I don't do this as much as Luke, but we would get sermon notes. And they come in three different ways. So there's Bible passages. There's just like statements. So it might be a quote, or it might be just a heading, and also images. So let's start with Bible. We just click up here. Now this drags the text in automatically. So if we were going to go John 3, I'll actually do 16 to 18. We've got our translation here. We can choose what we want.
Normally New Living.
It changes between New Living and New International.
Okay.
So depending on what the preachers want. And then we just hit return and it drags it in.
Oh, easy.
Now Luke's already set up the template so that it just sets it out beautifully. And you can see that each verse has its own slide. And then what we do is go down here, save as, and copy into selected presentation. Click on that. Then if we go back to that presentation, I think edit. No, back in there. So there it is.
Easy.
The other thing we'll do is if I click on that hold slide or that theme slide, right click and no, I'm going to do it a different way. We're going to edit. And then I right click, duplicate. Now I can drag that around here, but because I find that a bit tricky, I often go here and drag there. The way we set up, both of them. The way we set it up for our operators is that after each segment, it might be a scripture, it might be a word, it might be a whatever. We'll just put another hold slide in because that's what they're going to go back to. So rather than having just one at the front, they're bouncing back and forth and getting lost and stuff. We have that there. And so I know Luke, when he does it, he'll do all the Bible verses and get that all done. What I'll do here often is just, I've got that first one, is just to duplicate this a heap, and then I've got them all ready to go when I want to drag them in. Now if I go back, if I go back to here to edit, let's say I want to do a slide with something else on it.
Yeah.
I'll just get rid of that. Click in here, and that should take me to desktop Hungary theme.
Sure.
And then Hungary theme background.
Great.
Double click on that, right over. So then I've got the background. Then if I want to add some text, just that.
Yeah.
Now, the other way to do that is if I go back into here, if I'm not sure of the font and the size, just a bit of this, copy and paste into there. All good. Let's say your dad wants to emphasize God so loved the world, and that's that. Now then we go back here and we just drag that in.
Yep.
Then obviously we would want one of those there, so it just starts to come together bit by bit. Let's say we wanted to add an image in, really the same thing as this, but you would go and search for an image in here.
Yep.
Here we go, book. Over. That's that.
Sounds easy.
Last bit of this is we drag a macro on top. Do you know what the macro is?
I know what a macro is, yeah.
Yep. Now, where is it? Message. Well, I don't know why I've got two messages, but we do. Drag them on there.
Yep.
And then there's a whole heap of, oh no, that's the wrong one. See, it's got Celebrate Messiah. I'll remove that. It's this other one. I don't know why it's good too. So now I'll click on them and you can see, I'll just go up here. We can just choose our view. So if I go to Video Alpha, I think, do that. So that's what comes out on the live stream.
Yeah.
So that's all. Luke, when Luke sets up a theme, he'll set up those three different views of it.
Right.
There's the one that comes on
the screens. Yep.
The song work. Yeah. There's the theme slide here.
Yep.
There's the background here. There's the lower third here, which we don't see as we're setting it up, but once we drop the macro in, that's there.
Yep.
Now, once that is done, we again just drop it up here into the service, into message.
Fantastic.
It's good to go.
Easy.
Yeah, that's it. That's setting up a service.
But you're saying Luke normally does...
Luke will, yeah. So we've kind of been sharing this recently. I'll stop this screen recording. Any questions?
No.
No, you're good.